3, 2, 1.
The better gear equals better art. I can argue both sides of this because, as a community guy, as a guy that maybe my means are different than somebody else's means, you don't ever want to come across like, oh man, just get the Nikon Z8, with the 105 on it. And what you could really get is you need a good probe lens that you're going to use twice ever with a $1,200 rail to get things and I want 85 millimeter primes and for video, and you can start rattling this stuff off. And is your art going to be better? The quality is going to be better. So it's like a lie to tell somebody, yeah, man, just use your phone. It's going to be just as good. No, that's nobody's saying that when they say just go use your phone, that it's going to be just as good, but it's going to teach you how to take photos.
I agree 100%. I am a big phone advocate. That's what I use as my phone. But I will tell you that there is a ceiling, a very low ceiling as far as your quality goes. Yeah. We see people who spend money on their kits, right? They get really good kit lens, or not kit lens, but they have really good lenses, really good glass, or they have really good lighting. There's this one page I'm following, just started following on Instagram now, where I forget the name of the page, and I apologize for not being able to plug it, but he takes photos out in the wild of like micro plants, and he builds. He uses a bunch of the these lights that I can't even think of the lights off the top of my head. But anyway, the point I'm making is that he spent a lot of money on his setups and his lenses, and he takes incredible photos. It's probably some of the coolest stuff I see because, again, these little micro plants that he's taking photos of. But you can max out your potential on your phone, and you can get really good quality photos out of it. You're just really limited on what you can and can't do. It's hard to take photo of a group of figures on my phone. It is not easy. That is super hard. That's why most of the time I do portraits, because I only need to focus on one figure. To be able to take a photo of one guy is really easy compared to 7 or 8.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think definitely what you can spend on your photography will reflect in your photography if you know how to use it. That's the other thing. So
that's half the fun to me, but to some people it's not. That's a barrier of entry for some people. I will tell you this much, that with the gear that you can get, that you can buy, you could probably buy 500 action figures for $25 or $30 for the amount of, I think I'm doing my math there, right? $12,000-$15,000 worth of lenses and cameras and all the stuff that goes along with it. Even to get mid-tier camera, mid-tier's $2,500 for something that I would consider prosumer level.
Yeah.
Right. And which is, if you're going to buy a camera, either you start at the very beginning and you get a small Canon DSLR or a Nikon small DSLR, and that's where you start learning how to use the DSLR. But after that, don't ever waste your time on another camera that costs between $500 and $1,000. Your next camera better be a $2,500 camera. Otherwise, there's just no sense in doing that stuff in the middle there. People say, well, it's not in my budget. It's like, well, then keep the one you got, because you don't need to spend money, because what you're getting isn't going to be that huge of a difference. So
yeah, and you can get an entry level camera. So I actually have an entry level, what I would consider an entry level DSLR. I got the Rebel T7, and that thing, it's a great camera. I just haven't used it because, again, I like the convenience of my phone.
Yeah.
And what Gannon's mentioning is, like, if you want the top quality for your photos, you need to skip the middle tier. You can get an entry level camera to learn on, but to get a mid tier after that is basically worthless, because the gap of quality between your low tier or entry level to the mid tier actually isn't that high. You can really get really good lenses for that lower tier entry level and get right up there to that mid tier quality. But if you want that next level, you might as well spend the money. Don't buy any more action figures. Save up your money to get that camera, and you will see an immediate reaction.
Don't spend
difference.
don't spend $500 more on your next camera. Not without getting technical, you go from crop sensor to full frame. You get into the entry level full frame. Well, immediately once you get into full frame, to me, you're getting pretty close to semi-pro right there, like prosumer stuff, because most people don't even consider that. But like, the difference between a full frame camera and a crop sensor is ginormous. Probably not so much with taking toys photos, but still, I mean, I get a lot of megapixels to play with crops and things like that. So, and like I said, I mean, there's different types of people. There's collectors that are action figure collectors that take pictures of their collection. So those people, like a phone makes sense or a cheaper camera makes sense because that's not their goal. Like their goal is like, look at the action figures. I've got this huge collection. They want to spend that money on the action figures. And I more lean towards the photography stuff because I like the videography. I like taking photos of things besides toys. I use my camera all the time for lots of different stuff. And at the end of the day, that's, if you asked me, would you quit collecting action figures or quit taking pictures? That's a no-brainer for me. I'm going to quit collecting action figures. I'm going to take pictures because there's always something to take pictures of. Now, I think that's the difference between the two people. So,
yeah, I can see your point on that for sure, because you're coming from a huge photography background. So you have a lot of that knowledge. And we didn't even talk about on the back end with, like you mentioned, pixels for editing. When you're taking raw, you have so much more flexibility and more freedom to manipulate those photos. You can always revert back to the original image, but because the quality is so good to begin with, and when you shoot in raw, that you're not destroying all your pixels when you edit. On a phone, you have to destroy pixels. And I mean, you can take in raw, but even when you put it in, say, Lightroom or you take it to Photoshop, the quality is so much. It's like it's night and day. And then
small sensors.
It's
the smaller
sensor. Exactly. So
there's only so much glass, you can only have so much glass with those things. So yeah.
And then the last thing I want to mention was you're talking about how like collectors were transitioning into photography. I was a collector first. I started buying all these figures behind me and decided, hey, I want to open these up and start taking photos. Yep. So using my phone was again, barrier of entry, very low. Everybody has a cell phone, and most of those phones have decent cameras that you can get started with. And we also have the advantage where people are looking at Instagram through their phone. So your screen is that big. Right. The quality is pretty much hidden with that. But when you blow it up on a big screen, which I have done with my own photos, you blow them up onto a monitor, you're going to see some uglies that you wish you could hide.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. It's just, it's not a debate to me. I know which one's better. The debate for me is there are dudes out there that take pictures just with their iPhones that could bury me. Like their photos are going to look 10 times better than mine. That's just, they're just that good at what they do. Plus there's all kinds of tricks. I mean, I've got Godox flashes back there that work off Bluetooth. I can use my iPhone. In fact, I'm going to play with that this week. I'll let you know how it goes, because flashes, when you get into like flash photography and stuff like that, you can do really cool stuff. And if you're doing it with your phone on top of that, I mean, that's pretty cool. I want to try it out. So.
I mean, there are definitely some dirty tricks you can use to, I say dirty tricks, but definitely some tricks you can use to make your photos on your camera look like S tier for sure. A lot of it is skill, though. A lot of it has to deal with you as a photographer. You have to learn your craft and then harness your tools. Like that's the way that works.
The subjects, the frames, the frame. I mean, you got to tell a story. My page, I did some tutorials on some of the basic camera settings back in the day that I may try and repost some of those videos. It's kind of embarrassing because, I mean,
I've seen your old videos. You have an awesome setup. That setup was nice.
That was a fun one. That was, yeah.